वेट कर लो, अभी एक नंबर अभी नहीं आया। Monica, wait for some time. One member is not still come.
What happened?
मैम एक मेंबर का वेट कर देना।
Call him. Anisha already है यहाँ, मोनिका यहाँ है, नंदिनी है, नंदिनी भी है, प्रत्यय कहाँ है? प्रत्यय he is the first one to start.
Yes ma'am. No ma'am. Good evening ma'am. Here me and my team members will going to present the presentation on the third chapter of the book Power of Habit, and the writer was Charles Duhigg. So in this chapter we are going to study about golden rule of habit change, in which we study that it allows people to directly replace one habit with another by tapping into their existing habit loop. Uh, Here, a character, Tony Dungy, who is the coach of a football team, Buccaneers. Uh, in this, his principle is that on which they approach, but it also suggests that many organizations are resist to restructuring themselves around evidence-based habit change strategy. But Duhigg hopes that his book will help managers take these strategy more successful in the future. Dungy's strategy is based on the uh, on the routine change that there is cue and reward which is constant, but the routine is got changed. Dungy's strategy is based on the insight that habits save time and energy over decision. This enabled the Buccaneers to play faster and more efficiently, which gave them a significant edge in the game. Dungy proved that football strategy is one of the many challenges better addressed through automation than creativity. The summary of the Tony Dungy story is he was the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team, which is one of the worst football team in the league, and they are losing for 17 years. Dungy had been trying and failing to get head coach jobs. Teams didn't like the unusual coaching philosophy that players have to change their habits in order to win. Dungy philosophy is that players have to change only their habit routine, not their habit cue and their reward. Only they have to change the routine and the things will go easily. After Dungy got his job at the Buccaneers, he quickly turned the team into one of the NFL's most successful teams. Other coaches quickly start imitating his methods. During the game against San Diego, Tony Dungy started teaching his players to act so automatically that they would be faster than anyone else. Have mastered their few strategy. The San Diego players briefly hesitate. The Buccaneers, in contrast, react reflexively, and their speed lines win them the game. Here, a new character will come. Bill Wilson, who struggled with alcoholism. met an old drinking buddy in his basement, but his friend refused a drink. He was sober. He said that his secret was religion. And after that, Wilson went to rehabilitation a month later. He started having terrible pain and hallucinations from the withdrawal. He called out to God and he suddenly felt better. He never drank again. Here is the example of cue, routine, and reward. It shows that the strategy of Tony Dungy, where we have to only change our routine and we have to keep the cue and reward constant. Uh, Here, a program, Alcoholics Anonymous program, is found by Bill Wilson. A focus on habits and addressing people's psychological and neurological motives for drinking. Here, Pratyay is going to continue this presentation.
Thank Nandini for this. A A means Alcoholic Anonymous. Alcoholic Anonymous essentially ignores the science around alcoholism. Bill Wilson came up with the 12 steps during a flash of insight in a single night. Alcoholic Anonymous means A focuses on spirituality, does not include addiction professionals, and has not adapted to new discoveries in addiction research. Academic long criticized it, but now some believes that is success by using the golden rule of habit change. It teaches people to understand the cues and reward. They derive them to drink, then replace drinking with the different routines. Alcoholic Anonymous members have to make a list of their triggers, admit their errors to others, and go to the meeting that gives them to same social rewards and released from anxiety as going to a bar. As for example, whenever any people who always take the cigarette and he want to quit the cigarette, then after he always say that I want to quit the cigarette, but due to the nicotine, it is very hard to control the cigarette. So this is a golden rule that whenever you want to leave any type of a bad habit, firstly you leave you leave that by the golden rule, that is you do any other work on that time, that is written on there also cue and reward. So at that time you can also do that a push up, gym, fruit, and you can eat the fruit and relaxing, you can also do the relaxing exercise. And alcohol, here we that is AA, it means that the Alcoholic Anonymous, it is the name Alcoholic Anonymous is a scientist of is a American scientist, and he also runs American Institute of Scientists, and on the and he research on the alcoholic people who use the alcohols, and after the research he asked one question of the he asked one question from the all the alcoholic people, that why you use the alcohols and the cigarette, and why use the alcohol, and which attract you, which what thing that attract you from the cigarette and the alcohol. So then the many people said one thing, that is we feel relaxed after taking the cigarette and after drinking the alcohol. Then after AA means Alcoholic Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous said one thing, that everyone to do a second work, that is do a good work at that time, just like as a push up or exercise, and the people's also do that work. He said that at that time when you use the cigarette and the smoking, at that time you use the you can do the meditation and the exercise, and also he said that at that time uh, you attend the meeting and you will always want to speak in frontly in the meeting first, and you try to be the first person in the meeting. Now the second slide. The German neurologist UIF Mueller implied a device in the basal ganglia of 5 alcoholics who had repeatedly failed to quit drinking. By emitting electrical signals, these devices interrupted the habit loop and stopped the man's alcohol craving. They largely drank because it was their only tool for coping with the stress. But they soon learned to switch drinking out for different routines like Alcoholic Anonymous meeting and therapy. Again, new routines were key to changing habits. Now the next slide. Scientists have adapted Alcoholic Anonymous techniques to address all sorts of other bad habits. For instance, Mandy, a chronic nail beater, desperately wanted to stop bad different. A psychology PhD student had her describe this cue for his behavior and then analyze the underlying reward. The cue was the feeling of tension in her hand. The reward was a feeling of physical stimulation. He told to make a check mark on index card every time she felt the cue and another every time she overloaded the nail, bringing about habit in. In just a month, she stopped beating her nails, suggesting that habit reversal can be very simple. It is just about identifying cues and rewards and then switching out the routine. This can work for any sort of habit, ranging from the snacking to smoking. Yeah, next slide. After becoming the Buchanan's head coach, Tony Dungy made the team repeatedly practice their most important moves until those moves were automatic. He figured out what visual cues they were looking for at the beginning of every play and then changed their routines. For instance, instead of looking all of the opposing players and trying to choose a formation, Dungy taught his defense to automatically adjust their formation by looking at the opposing players one at a time, a much quicker and a more efficient technique. The Buccaneers gradually improved after falling to a make playoffs for 15 years. They made it 3 years straight, but they also fell apart high stakes playoff games. At key moments, the players abandoned Dungy method and went back to their old ways. Dungy fired, and the next years the Buccaneers won the Super Bowls using the technique. So now I'm going to invite Monica for this for the next slide.
Sorry, Pratyush, but it's me. Okay, good evening, everyone. At an AA meeting, a man named John explains how he quit drinking after injuring his son while driving drunk. He then relapsed 2 years later when his mother got cancer. He got into another more severe car accident while drunk driving, and then he started going to Alcohol Anonymous, which has kept him sober for 7 years. Dohik explains that stories like Johnson's show the limits of habit replacement. When life gets too stressful, people often relapse into their former bad habits. Researchers have also repeatedly found that former alcoholics who believe in a higher power are more likely to stay sober during stressful periods. This is because believing in something helps people learn to. After leaving the Buccaneers, Tony Dungy moved to the Indian Police Calls. He used the same technique and the calls followed the same pattern. They were successful during the season but struggled in the playoffs. Then Dungy's son committed suicide. After the tragedy, the players felt like they owed it to him to play well. They started taking his techniques more seriously and bonding with one another. In other words, they started to believe in their own team. However, people don't need a tragedy to learn to believe. More often, they just need to surround themselves with a community of new people, but the calls had both. Next slide. In 2006, the Calls had a strong season and playoff games, but during the third against the Patriots, they started overthinking things in the first half. Then they fell bar behind. At halftime, Dungy reminded them to stick to their habits. They did, and they pulled ahead. In the final few seconds, the Patriots were positioned to score a game-winning touchdown, but the Colts cornerback intercepted a key pass by following Dungy's rules. The Colts won the Super Bowl 2 weeks later, and many of the players credited their victory on believing in Dungy's method. While there is no automatic formula for changing habits, Rohit concludes this chapter has illustrated two key principles. The first is the golden rule. Use the same cue and reward. For new habits to stick, people have slide. The first golden rule is that use the same cue and reward but change the routine. And the second is that for new habits to stick, people have to believe they can change. One of the best ways to do this is by finding support from other people. Now next slide. Here in this example, there is a person who is addict towards alcohol, means his cravings for alcohol is too much, but when he will keep the cue, provide the same reward, and when he will insert a new routine, he will get change his habits. Means if he will use the same cue and provide the same reward, he can shift the routine and change the habit. As we can see in the second picture, that the person is starting talking to other people, chit chatting with others people. At the time when he feels craving for drinking alcohol, he can talk with other people, he can communicate, he can sit with his family members. At that time his cravings for alcohol will reduce. With this way, means we cannot change habit in just 1 or 2 times. It takes time, and it should be replaced by another habit, by another good habits. Almost any behavior can be transformed if the cue and reward stay the same. Now I would like to invite Monica to continue the further presentation.
Thank you, Anisa. Now I'm going to explain the conclusion part of this presentation. Claude Hopkins created a new habit with Pepsodent, but old habits can't be destroyed, rather they must be replaced. The golden rule of habit change: keep the same cues and rewards, but replace the routine. Smokers have a cigarette cue and a rush reward. Replacements for the routine can include nicotine, caffeine, or other things. This can be used for small behavioral tasks such as nail biting, as well as large problems like addictions. Replacing the routine is not effective on its own when a stressful situation arises in people's life. Then belief is the key addiction. Uses of belief in God as one of its central tenets. Researchers find it's not necessarily a belief in God, but rather a belief in something greater than oneself. Having support groups in a huge bone to habit change. Coach Dungy found that drilling habits into his players, first on the box and then the courts, made them faster and less likely to hesitate by trying to think during plays. Most coaches at that time relied on hugely complex playbooks with friend and counter friend. Dungy focused on a few plays drilled into automatic habits. Dungy's habit changes weren't enough in high pressure games, conference championship, because the pressure caused players to fall back into their old routines. Not until Dungy's son committed suicide did the change happen. The players railed around Dungy in his presence and started to believe in what he has taught them. They then won the Super Bowl. Now, I would like to conclude my words with: a habit can't be tossed out the window. It must be coaxed down the stairs a step at a time. Thank you.
Pratyay, who is AA? What is AA over here?
Alcoholic Anonymous.
Mm-hmm. What is that?
Ma'am, it is the name of a American scientist, and he runs the American Institute of Institution in America, and he researches on the alcohols and the people who drink the cigarette.
It is an organization.
Yes, ma'am.
Not the scientist's name. It is an organization which help people all those things correct. But only thing is that he was not a scientist. It is just an organization which help people in getting eradicate these bad habits. Okay.
Yes, I'm researched over 1 crore people.
It is an organization, not the scientist.
Yes,
Yes,
And
ma'am.
you mistake again. You pronounced quit as quite. Okay. Rest all was good, and you concluded very nicely. All things, almost everything was being covered. All character were covered. You include cloth. You also include Dungy. You also include again when he joined team.
Yes.
I don't find anything which is left. Mandy, also you covered biting habit, alcoholic habit, so playing habit. But how come Hopkins is in this chapter only? From previous chapter, it is connected at last.
Yes,
At
ma'am.
last, it is connecting Hopkins also. In last chapter, we read
Yes.
about Hopkins. But yes, you included that also. So very good. Presentation was good. And conclusion was also good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
But only thing which disappointed me that you were not on time, nor you informed. And when I told you that US presentation will be that day, still you didn't obey. So that is only my point of disappointment.
मैम उस दिन हुआ क्या था,
Sorry,
मैम
ma'am.
समझ ही नहीं आ रहा था कि मैम कि इसको बनाना कैसे है, मतलब क्या बताऊं, क्योंकि मैम पॉइंट्स ज्यादा था।
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Was confusing.
पेज था मैम, समझ ही में नहीं आ रहा था कि इसको करना कैसे है, मतलब आगे पीडीएफ बना के।
चलिए ठीक है. And next presentation, where the group names. Are they ready? Obviously today we are not able to do. We are running out of time. Next day who will be presenting, and I hope so that the same thing will not be repeated. Be on time. Who is the next group? They are not present over here. Group B, Gaurav Raj, Anku, Mahi, Shreyans.
No, ma'am, they are present.
They are not present. So ask them to be ready with next chapter. That is which chapter? Goal after we will be starting the second part, organizational habit change. That is keystone habit. Right.
Yes.
This chapter they have to present. Hope so same thing will not be repeated by any of the group members.
मैम ग्रुप एफ में 2 मेंबर्स और ज्वाइन हुए हैं।
जो भी अपडेट करवा दीजिए आप सर, इन्फॉर्म प्रत्यय यू विल बी अपडेटिंग। 2 मेंबर किस में?
ग्रुप एफ मैम।
ग्रुप एफ,
आलोक, प्रशांत मैम।
yes, obviously you need more group member. Add to it Prashant and Alok.
उसमें
Who will be
मैम
coming?
साक्षी, तुलिका एंड निधि।
Okay. Update Pratyay.
ओके मैम।
Try to take 5 members as 5 phases are there. But if you are not getting, then you don't have any another option. Okay, respond to your roll number. Roll number 1. 1, 2,
Yes, ma'am.
3, 4,
Present, ma'am.
5,
Present, ma'am.
6, 7,
Ma'am, 7 present.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
13 present.
14,
14
15,
present, ma'am.
15,
14.
done. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25,
24. Ma'am, 24.
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
29 present, ma'am.
31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48,
46 present, ma'am.
47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52,
52, ma'am.
53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60,
58 present, ma'am.
61, 62, 63, 64, 65,
60 present, ma'am.
66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78,
76.
Ma'am, 77.
78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83,
82 present, ma'am.
84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 18, 86.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. See you next class.
Thank you, ma'am.